is the Brains Trust, introduced by the question master, answering any question.
Right, we thought we'd come back and give us another crack since sounds like one or two people might have listened, tuned in. So since we've come out of lockdown, we've actually expanded our bubble somewhat and added the great Jeremy Boyle to the team. So welcome, Ice. Good to have you on board, mate.
Good to be here, fellas.
But yeah, we'll give this a go again. Before we start, obviously me and Bryce had a wee segment at the end of first step about most influential club players. Now I've had actually a couple of messages come in about that. Couple of guys not happy that they weren't included. You obviously might have a slightly different opinion on what teams and what players would be in what teams. Have you got any differences to Bryce and I?
Yeah, to be fair, majority were pretty similar. I thought probably the star, you've got Scratcher and Manaki as well, who are two guys that, I mean, you could easily chuck in if they were in another team. They'd probably definitely be there, but sort of speaks to the guys at star. I thought Galately at Woodlands, but again, we do fit them in because that's another team that's been pretty rich with talent. I think you nailed Barbars. Who else we got? Oh, Blues. Yeah, that was a tough one actually because they have rotated players, but as you said, guys like Bill and Jay, Sammy Muir, House, names that all got chucked up, so I was pretty happy with him. Big Dan Ken's not getting mentioned for Pirates Old Boys.
Well, when you play for multiple clubs, I think you almost rule yourself out, don't you?
Well, I just thought it was a name that could have been bandied about, but
he was definitely considered, but yeah, no chance.
Who reached out of curiosity, Scotty?
Actually had a former Super Rugby player who was filthy that he wasn't included. I think you could might be able to work that out, mate. But there probably is one omission I probably had forgotten. Brian Milne, better give the Barn Horse a shout out. Had a text come through that he should have been probably there and potentially could have been, but it had been a while and my memory had evaded me. So
yeah, fair play. I'd only played against him a couple of times, but heard good things. If you're going to include him, Scoot, you're going to have to drop one, mate. You can't just have four.
Exactly. That's too tough a call. I wouldn't drop those three fellas. Oh well, I guess question on everyone's lips is when we're going to get back to club footy. I'm reading today on stuff that I was just saying to Brycey before that there's obviously a Super Rugby review and a review for this, and Australia Rugby review and this. Do you think it's time for another club rugby review in Southland, or do you think we've had enough?
I feel like we've had, it seems like every season we're reviewing it. But I guess it is something that needs to be looked at ongoing as kind of as a year to year. Was it last year was it a 3-year plan for how club rugby would look?
Yeah, so they obviously went with the 12 teams and then obviously that ended up being 8 after 1 year. So
yeah, I think 8 is for the Premier level is probably a good number to aim at, and that gives you a few different options of how the competition can look. Obviously, that changes how many games you want to be playing, but I think it's something that they need to keep looking at every year, and if it is being successful, then look to, I guess, develop from that. Because I don't think with 6 teams it's good.
Nah.
I think 6 teams is, it's not sustainable playing teams 3 times in a year. You sort of get a bit sick of that. So
like Bryce, you mentioned last week, you get to know these. We were talking about last week. You get to know these teams well.
I've got written down here for the later on segment of lower grade footy, but I might chuck it in at this point for Prems. Over here in England, it was a bit of a shock when I first started playing to carry 18-man match day squads.
Yeah,
I think that could, if we want 8 teams, because I was following a bit last year from a distance, and you had the group spraying Riversdale for defaulting on the day or just before. I think 18.
He ended up deleting that, didn't he?
Yeah,
I think
it's
a loose carry.
Yeah, but I think if you're gonna try and entice these country sides to come in and be competitive, they're not going to have the depth that Town have. So 18-man squads could work. I was pretty dubious of it when I first got here. I was like, how's this going to end up? And you do end up with some patchwork 15s come 80 minutes, but it's good time. It also strengthens your seconds and your thirds. So if you're not carrying 22, you've got 5 quality players going down to play 2s as well.
Yeah, true. To be fair, we'd done that for a couple of stints at Maris. I remember we were 18 a few times, but because in Scotland they play 20, don't they?
I don't know.
Pretty sure.
I think it is, yeah.
Yeah, Scotland they play 20. So yeah, it could be a go. I know. What are your thoughts on the season starting later? Oz, you have a bit of a say about this. You obviously play a bit of ball on leather, red ball. On leather. And obviously I know that for you, like you the last couple of years, like you can't make any pre-season trainings or you miss the first couple of games because we start like in March. Do you reckon like the season should start right in May or end of April?
I actually don't mind. I know it falls at different times of year, but playing the Thursday of Easter is like the kickoff. I understand every year is different, but it gives you firstly a Thursday night game, and then you've got a long break into your second game. But yeah, I do think it's something that's, well, I guess from my point of view, that I'd prefer if the season started later because it is feel like I'm just going one to the other. But I know there's not a lot of people in that boat, so
There's a couple.
There's a couple, but there's not. Majority of the competition are training full noise from January, aren't they? So, yeah, I mean, at what stage of, I guess that means when does the competition finish? If you start later, has it just become condensed, or is you just play less games? I don't know.
Yeah, well, the reason's has always been Mighty 10 Cup, but I guess and all of the divisions have had to start at the same time, pretty much due to that. When you've only really had 6 teams, if that, with a handful of players that are affected. So
yeah,
I don't know.
The danger of starting later though is you could end up with that farcical situation that happened up the road in Dunners a couple of years ago, where it was getting too close to Mitre 10 Cup, and the Otago coaches pulled the squad with 3 or 4 weeks to go in the club season, and that was a joke.
Yeah, they play a long season up there, don't they? I feel like that was when they had 10 teams and 18 games.
Possibly.
That's quite a long season.
Yeah. So you definitely need the Stags coaches or management on board with how long they have with their squad post club footy.
It's almost like you have an end date, like when the Stag season starts, and you work back from there, and then you find out what it looks like essentially, game-wise.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not an option to have club footy without the Stags. You can't.
No, not at all. No.
Not even for part of the season.
We're not exactly brimming with players down here, are we? So.
No.
They're piling up, man. But even, I know a couple of boys we talked about, even in town, I know the country boys, that probably wouldn't suit them, but like at town games, we always, the Bees have to play at the same time, but why can't the Prems play at 12:30 or 1 o'clock? You boys keen on playing earlier footy?
Yeah, I'd be big on that personally. And as you guys touched on last weekend, Friday night games.
Yeah, Friday night footy.
Obviously, starting early on Saturdays, means during the club rooms earlier, which also suits me. But I think Friday night games. I'd love to know what the difference in, I guess, bar takings are for those after those night games, because I understand playing Saturday at 3 o'clock is probably more profitable for the clubs, but. Yeah.
I think I personally, on a personal level, I'd love to play earlier, but I also think that bar takings question would actually come into Saturday early games as well. I don't know if they'd clear enough as much, because it's quite a good, for supporters especially, it's quite good timing, rolling 3 to 5 out in the number 1 straight into the 19th hole, and you can nestle in there for a few hours. Whereas if you're in the clubhouse at 2:30 on a Saturday, I don't know if you're going to stay as long.
It might kick on. Just
wow. That's a few big shifts.
Siaki will be up for that. No dramas.
I haven't seen him buy a beer at the clubhouse yet, though. That's not helping the club rooms. He finishes 18 on the sideline. 18 to 2.
Great man. I guess, just before we move on, obviously we came into level 3 here in New Zealand on yesterday. question is, have you been through the Cave Fry drive-through yet?
It's not open until tomorrow.
It's not open.
I don't think so. I
Oh.
went and had a whack at golf yesterday and thought I'd just drive past the fast food place to see how big the lines were, etc.
Where'd you place?
Just out of Otatara.
Nice.
It's
Still
yeah,
150 down the middle.
Oh no! I lost about 7 balls and 9 holes.
Scotty was saying the Maris number one's long. I can't imagine what the rough's like out there.
Yeah, rough's that's actually generally tough now. But yeah, I think those people queuing up for those fast food places just possibly need your head checked, eh?
That's outrageous.
Pretty.
Mate,
I drove past the one by just down by Maris, the Macca's, and they were actually queuing up on the road. Like, it was quite dangerous, actually, really. But yeah, crazy stuff.
Is that right? I see McDonald's had put a photo up earlier in the week, before we came out of lockdown. It was a traffic management plan for their car park.
Yeah, I did see that.
And heard from a couple of people, saw a couple of snaps. It was shocker.
I think that was up in Gisborne, wasn't it?
Oh, everywhere, I think.
Yeah.
Everywhere. Hard case. What do you reckon about, obviously, like lower grade footy? I know one of the things we've tried to do at Maris has been trying to get the A's and the B's together, and obviously has its positives. Not really too many downsides, but I guess in terms of the training quality. But how do you reckon you get more of those fellas involved? Like, I know there's talking to a few fellas about it, how you get them involved. Do you just have one training a week for them? Do you put on some events? Like, I was talking to someone about, even as an idea, this week you could do it across all the divisions, as each club hosted a day or something. Say if you had 8 Prem teams, you could split them even into fours, and each club hosted those teams for a day, out the bar takings, make it a bit of an event. What do you reckon on that? Getting guys
yeah, that's a good point. So I've got something down similar, sort of, because it's usually a numbers thing, right? They're always battling for numbers. So I thought similar thing, like a festival type in season 10s tournaments every now and then, where one club would host, obviously, to get them interested. It's an interesting way you've just put it, though. So would that be like full squads, 20, 22?
I'm thinking more like the top sort of grades, but even like Div 2, like I know our B's play Div 2, you could split it into three groups or something like that, or even in half. Like if you got 2 fields, you could run 2 fields, say you had 16.
Oh, right. Sorry.
That could be 3 games.
Yeah, gotcha.
Sort of like they're doing the NRL, like your magic rounds.
Magic rounds sort of set up.
About.
Obviously, social distancing may hamper that somewhat, but hopefully we get past level 1, and even if it was next year, something to look at, maybe create a bit of. I know that they've had this game on thing where if you have, they've brought in New Zealand Rugby. I think they do it in England as well in lower grades. If you don't have a front row or you don't have 15, the other team, you can still have a proper game. I think down to 10 or something like that. I might be wrong there, but I'm not too sure about that personally. If you've got 22 in your team and the other team rocks up to 12, it's not exactly fair.
Yeah, there has to be some sort of, not penalties, probably the wrong word, but you sort of, as you said, if you're rolling out might be 12 really good players on that other team, you're sort of disadvantaging yourself. Or having a full squad, I don't know. Like, is there stuff like rolling subs that need to be like shorter game time? Like, do you reduce to 60 or 70? Like, I don't know. It's for some clubs, it's a real hard slog to, have 2 teams. So, I guess to ease the burden on those teams is something. There needs to be some, initiatives looked at.
Yeah.
I mean, outside of Les George too, there's not many grounds that could hold that many games of footy.
No, that's
and stay in Nick.
Yeah, but if you're only doing it once, though, if you're just doing it as a once-er, and you do it in the first part of the season,
when the tracks are still decent.
Yeah, that could be.
Just
like most grounds in town have 2.
Pretty
clubs
much.
in town have 2 grounds, don't they?
Most clubs have 2 fields. 2 fields.
Yeah. It's everyone sort of starts off the season super enthusiastic though, right? It'd be more, you'd want to try and keep them engaged towards the end of the season with these sort of initiatives.
Yeah.
It's sort of the drop off happens as the season progresses, I feel.
True. Injuries.
Also, kind of depends how your team's travelling, and
Oh yeah, a few people drop lip.
yeah.
When you not
Fuck this, I'm going to league.
Yeah, just as you touched on the one training a week, for the Bees, when I was playing for them probably 2014, we did it and it worked. It's a lot easier to get people to commit to one. Obviously, as you go up the grades, it makes it very difficult to get everything you need across, all your detail and stuff, by having one. But I think for those Div 2, Div 3, that's something that can be looked at. I'm not sure how many clubs do it at the moment. It might turn out to be
probably
there's actually a few. But yeah.
Definitely.
But yeah.
When do you reckon we'll start, Eyes? What's the crystal ball telling you? Do you reckon we start playing in July?
I think, I don't know if I've misread this, but level 2 we can start training.
So
we can start with ball work.
Yeah, so level 2 pretty much. I think in groups or small groups we could do fitness, kicking, passing, as long as we're not within 2 meters. Other than that, you can't really do anything.
So if you look at it at the moment, we're in level 3 and they're making a decision in 2 weeks.
That'll be another week.
Whether we're dropping down, and it'll 100% be another week. It's the same thing they did with the first lot. So if you look at it like that, it's nearly the end of June. So how long? I don't know how long. Probably another month in level 2. Like I don't know, if add a guess maybe. So to be at level 1 we were playing, I think like that's starting to really push things out a lot. So I still think we'll get a season, but what that looks like, I don't know. Yeah,
and that's what we talked about last weekend, whether the Galbraith gets put up or not. And I guess it depends how much of a season we have in it. Whether if it's 10 weeks, if it's only like a 6-week gauntlet, then you probably don't put it up, do you?
You'd be tough if you won it though.
True. Yeah, if we manage to win it, then we definitely would try.
We'll celebrate like we did anyway.
Correct. One of the things that keeps popping up down here, especially, has been whether young fellas who go to high school should keep playing for their club or not. I know there's a lot of opinions about this, and obviously in Southland it's different to what's going on in Auckland. But what are your guys' thoughts around sort of that school grade footy, whether you should play for your club or whether you should play for your school?
Just before I answer, can I get a gauge from you two, growing up in Southland club footy, like what it was like what's the differences now to when you fellas come up through under 12s, 13s, 14s?
When you come in, so under 14s, you obviously start playing for your school. So I went to boys high. It was non-negotiable. Mm-hmm. But like under 14, under 15, like I remember there were like some tough games, and we did get tipped up the odd time by like a Gore or a Menzies or those sort of teams. But looking at it now, like obviously not directly involved, but like keeping a bit of an eye on it, the under 14, under 15 grade boys high have had generally 3 or 4 teams, and you look at the points table, and there might be the odd team, don't get me wrong, that like a Gore or something, but the points table is just boys high, boys high, boys high, boys high at the top of the table. And I reckon that's putting a lot of young fellas off playing from who go to those other schools or play for those other teams. Yep. So I don't know how like obviously that's not directly boys high's fault in the sense that, you know, they didn't force all those kids to come to boys high, although some people might argue that they did. I can assure you that they did it in most cases. So I reckon it almost needs to be like a split model. Like you almost need to go back to you play for your club, even if it's like in term 2, and then in term 3, like then you go and do some sort of school footy. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's. I guess from when I was growing up, it was a little bit of a mix of both. There was mainly schools. I'd say probably 75%, but there's probably, like, I'm just thinking back to, like when we were playing the under 18 grade, I'm pretty sure there was we had Ojai, DLS, and there was another, I think Edendale was in there one year, but it seemed like the guys who weren't playing for, mainly guys who weren't playing for Central Southland, I guess, made up those ones. One question I did have, so what happens if guys go in and board at Boys High
Yeah.
and they don't play for the school? Who do they play for? Do they go back to their respective clubs, or do they find a club in town? Like, how do you think that would work?
Yeah, that would become a bit of an issue. I know what that would happen. Like if you're a under 14 and you had played for Riversdale and then you come to town, high chance that you're not gonna go back out to Riversdale on a Wednesday for training, are you? Unless mum or dad drew a 2-hour return trip and take you out and back. So
does that mean that the guys who are from country play for Boys High, and then the guys who are in town play for a club team? I don't know if it's probably not a model that's
opens up a can of worms, doesn't it? With the
absolutely.
Boys coming to town.
Yeah.
But
it seems like there's, in those under 18 grades and whatnot, there seems to be usually Woodlands or someone else seems like a club seems to usually put out a team, and it's usually leavers from Boys High or guys who don't want to play for the school. But I guess
that's what I think we talked about last week, or bringing back the Highlanders comp, and those guys aren't playing in that. Then you have your club under 18 teams, and those guys that just want to play the footy with their mates and have a bit of fun, not too worried about the result. Then it's more of a club sort of thing. But I don't know. You've been pretty quiet on this one, Lightning. Teacher.
I don't know. It's tricky. It's tricky. I think it's just this is a product now of the professional era, isn't it? There's only 2 teams south of Christchurch that get any sort of sky time, and that's Otago Boys and Southland Boys. So if you're a superstar coming up through under 65s and you're seeing these guys on TV all the time, into Stags Academy, whatever, it's a pretty safe route to come into Boys High. So I think that's strengthened them that way. To me, it's quite strange when I was there that all the under 14 teams at Boys High were in the under 14 grade. Don't want to keep harping back to Dunners, but that's sort of where I was in a past life. And the top teams from Kings and Otago Boys always played up a grade.
Yeah, so they do it a bit different, don't they? They don't necessarily have 14s, 15s, 17s. They go sort of junior Colts or something like that. Colts.
Yeah. So the under 14s were always playing sort of under 15s, under 16s.
Yeah, but they go ABC though with their teams, though, don't they? Like Kings and
they do. They stream them a bit. The other thing we could look at is a sort of like a Wednesday after school comp, like a social comp. Still register them as New Zealand rugby players, and then try and incentivize it that if you play in that league, you're not eligible for rep teams or anything like that. Assign referees, just try and get more, because I don't know about the rugby numbers, but Hargest 2 years ago had like 2,000 pupils, no cricket team. So I don't think it's just rugby that are up the creek.
Cricket, yeah, cricket's in a similar.
I don't know how you explain that to me. It's nothing to do with contact. It's nothing to do with. It's just something's going on. People aren't getting out.
There's no Bryce Morgans in that school. That's probably your issue.
No, there's not. But still, you can't. That's the biggest high school in Southland. Not putting out any cricket teams.
Although I know they got
other
Mike Newell coming on board as the principal now. So I know he's a cricket man in the eyes. He's a cricket man.
Yeah.
So I think that'll.
Where was he? Northern Southland.
Yeah, Northern Southland.
Down from Tyree College.
I think that'll give their rugby and cricket a bit of a boost, to be fair. Oh, from Tyree, another Targa product.
Yeah, no, he was out there. He's a good man. Because, I don't know, I feel like you're right. Southland boys they are the dominant school. And I can see why, if you're an under 14 at Hargest, why would you bother?
Yeah.
You're going to get touched up.
I just can't see how you can continue on. Like I can only imagine it's just going to get worse. Like you're under 14s, you're under 15s, Boys High have 3, maybe 4 teams, and all 3 or 4 of them at the top.
Do you think you'd be more likely then if you're a sort of a Hargis under 14 player, you've just had a good few years up and down to 13 at your club, you go to Hargis or one of the smaller rugby schools like Verdun or something like that.
Not the
And,
factory. Not the factory.
Not the factory, mate.
And there's the option for a Wednesday 4:00 game against other social sides.
Yeah, it could be an option.
Still register as through the NZRU
Yeah.
as a, so you're still a statistic. You
Yeah.
can add that.
That's all they want, mate. That's all they want, data and money.
Well,
Even if
I had a look. Well, I had a
Yeah,
look
mate.
at those numbers, I guess, of people leaving, like registered players from. I think it's from age 0 to 12. They've got 70,000. Then that goes down to about 33,000 when they're 13 to 20. So it's like there's a huge drop off from that. Those guys finishing there and just not carrying on from school. So it's that social aspect of it after school, Bryce, I think something that you can have a look at, because
Yeah.
at the moment, if it keeps going that way and you're losing however many we're losing every year, it's just it's not sustainable.
And that's reflecting on club footy, yeah. Like
Absolutely.
everyone's scrambling, like, who's coming out of school? And you can barely hold them up on two hands, the amount of
Yeah.
coming out of school.
That Wednesday night too, as a parent, you'd be over the moon if your kid's like, I don't want to
still
play
get your weekend.
competitive. Yeah, correct. And
Yeah.
even then, practices would be pretty casual. Just a Tuesday
Yeah.
ruck and run.
Not the ruck and run. A few up and
full
unders.
court,
Yeah,
just a game of touch and get some goal kicking in that.
Yeah,
Ruck and run.
you'd have to police people that are in those Saturday leagues trying to lace them up on a Wednesday, but you can introduce some harsh penalties on that.
Yeah. So if you're saying if you play in the social, you can't play in the Saturday?
Yeah, I think you register. So with
So you're a completely different registration. Well, you're still
Yeah.
registered, but you're
Different
registered
league.
for that comp.
I think so.
Interesting. Food for thought, anyway. Food for thought. I know they won't be having after matches and pissing up at that age, but hopefully down the track they might get to club footy and have a go. Have you guys had a bit of a think about? This was tough, I thought. Having to think about
It was tough.
what
It was
clubs. Obviously, we took Marist out of the equation.
I don't know if we'd be up there anyway, would we?
Mate, we'd be there. We'd be in the mix. Now we can't vouch for all the clubs because obviously quite a few of the country clubs we don't really get to ourselves.
Yeah.
But and I'm sure there are some country clubs that we might not name that put on unreal after matches. But
Yeah, I've got a few noted.
the picking the three was tough. So who do you have? We'll start for you guys. Who you got, mate? Talk us through a few yarns about these.
So, not to go into possibly a topic later on, but obviously Edendale. I've only been out there once, but had probably one of the better nights. Had an American
Nice.
shirt anyway out there.
So that was last year, wasn't
Great
it?
plays. Yeah, I
That
think
was-
it was
was
just
that-
before
was that-
Easter.
Was that Lightgate?
That was when the lights went out after 60 minutes.
Yeah, Marty Smith's still seeing red to this day about that.
What was the score when the lights went out?
It was 35-5.
Something
I've
like
been
that.
on for 5 minutes, mate. I couldn't have been happier.
What was the plus minus? What was the plus minus?
Nah, no dots when I was on, but none the other way either.
Neutral.
I've got Pirates Old Boys in there.
Yeah,
And
nice.
it always seems like we get Pirates Old Boys on a club day or
Yep.
their club day, or something's happening after it. So they're pretty good. And probably my favourite part of going to play a pub is usually after the game where Shane Harvey gets up on the mic and just
Yes.
usually gives either the Prem's team, the B's team, or the President's team an absolute earful, and then
Yeah.
just carries on about his night. That's a
Do you
part I
remember
really rate.
the day he absolutely gave it to who was the
Kirk Ray?
Kirk Ray.
Or was it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was.
he fucked up the score, didn't he?
Gave it to him. Was that the
He
game?
Yeah,
did
it's just-
genuinely. He did genuinely fuck up the score that day. We were
Yeah.
lucky.
Yeah.
Was that the day we should have lost
Um,
and we somehow won?
Oh, we won
Yeah.
by 2. We won by 2, but with about a minute to go, Dyer turned down 3 points. He could have thrown it over because he thought we were
You
down.
thought
by
about down by 4, was it? Or so,
Yeah.
I don't know what the.
Midfield
Yeah, it was
scrum,
it
5 minutes
was
out, and we somehow
Yeah.
stopped it. How
I think it was
good.
Curtis who saved it in the corner.
Oh,
They could have just
Yeah.
pushed us over that day too, from memory. The third one I've got is Mosman Pirates.
Oh,
Or
Mozzie.
Mosman.
Oh, yeah.
So when you guys were talking about lights last week, this ground's got the best lights going around, I reckon. They're seriously good setup, and they've got some pretty heavy hitters out of the club now. Ryan Carter's out there. I don't know if you guys know Gareth Coots. He's a heavy hitter, but yeah, they've got a good facilities out there. But yeah, they don't mind having a beer and getting after things. So that one would probably be my third.
Yeah, they've recruited heavily. I know obviously they haven't played yet this year, but
I think Kenny and Jacko had a run for them a couple of years ago as well. So
where it is, Nick Hayes is lacing them up for Mosburn as well.
Really?
And Stephen.
I heard Tane DeFutta might be going out there as well.
Oh yeah. His OE will be off. He'll be lacing up.
Yeah.
Jeez, they could be running right in Div 1.
Shit, yeah.
Anyway, Brycey, what do you got, mate?
Yeah, so again, I can't attest to too many of the country clubs, but I've gone Pob as well in third place. I sort of ranked mine for the exact same reasons. I've got Harvey written down. I've got Lip Sync, and they've got a good screen there. There seems to always be footy on as well.
Yeah.
Number 2 is Woodlands, strictly because I love a barbecue and there's always a barbecue on. But the number 2 reason is every time I'm there, their FOS machine never works. So I'm always up there with 2 big bots. And then you go to put the card in, the guy's like, fuck, it's not working, just take them. It's like, yeah, go on.
It's a rule, man. They're only used to using cash.
Yeah, they're like, illegal transaction, what's this? And then number 1, I don't know, I can't believe you left this one off, is the Barbars. If we're talking strictly aftermatch, the roast up there at what is the pub called? The Croydon?
Croydon.
You went for the Croydon.
Yeah, I do rate it, but it's just that it's not a club rooms. So that's kind of
I'm
what
going for every time you're sitting there, you're chewing through a roast, well cooked. You know that as you're leaving, you're going to grab some 12 cruisers out of that little bottle-o and you're straight onto the bus. You know, at some point, the killers
or
are
Marty
going to
shearing van.
You just
Marty
sit there
Smith shearing van. Spanish.
Yeah. It's like Christmas Eve, just waiting to get on the bus.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought of that, but it's good.
It's the experience. Yeah. And you know people are getting nude up that hill. It's fucking brilliant.
Yeah, let's hope we can get that off the mark this year.
Yeah.
I've gone pretty similar, to be fair. Like, I've matched you on two of the 3. I've obviously gone POB, Shane Harvey.
Nice.
Lip sync. I must have been 2 years ago that they ran their lip sync and Maris ended up playing a big part in that lip sync.
They did.
From memory. Siaki took center stage with Frozen.
Yeah.
That was unreal. One of the greats. And I think a couple of the other boys might have jumped in as well, to be fair. But, and obviously you got the Dan Keynes factor, like, guy who turned out.
Yeah, he's usually running amok there, eh? And especially sort of showing off in front of the Maris boys.
Yeah, but there was nothing better than beating them at Surrey Park and then getting stuck into Dan in the club rooms afterwards. So
yeah,
it's it's good stuff.
Yeah, they're good roosters there though.
Yeah, no, good sociable bunch. I think they do the best after match in town. When you look at other clubs around town. I've gone for Edendale as well. I don't, like you said, 2019, Bryce, you missed that one, but
Easter wasn't there.
Easter last year, obviously the game ended on a sour note, but the aftermatch, they definitely made up for it. Good feed, good music, and I think we ended up, from memory, I think there might have been a van that left early-ish doors. I think a couple of the boys.
Yeah, and then we were there till after midnight. And I think it was Good Friday the next day, and we planned to go to the Kiwi, but it just never eventuated. We was having too much fun out there.
I think it was very early doors.
Yeah, fair.
Great night. The last one I've gone for, bit different. I've gone for Midlands. Yeah.
That's fair.
Played Midlands. I haven't played them out there for a couple of years, but the times I remember went out there, great hospitality. Ross McKercher.
Yeah.
Always a stubby in his hand, mate. So, and his son's obviously taken the mantle off him. So
that's 2 plugs for McKercher in 2 weeks. It's stop.
Oh, he
He'll be
wasn't.
rating it.
I had to
Gotta
pump him
fucking
up
stop.
after you. I had to pump him up after you. Shot him down. Shot him down last
He
week.
did. He messaged me straight away.
He
He
was
said, I
not
did not
happy
say
about
that. I was like, wow, I don't need to know that.
Oh, I'm sure he'll come back and run the cutter, mate. But definitely Midlands though, and always did a good feed as well. So it would be. Hopefully, we can get this 8-team comp going. It would be good to get back out there again this year, if not.
There was a couple I had to add. Bluff. Now I haven't played down there, but I've heard rumours of big like feeds, your oysters and your seafood and that sort of thing, and the
Yeah.
boys getting it after down there. And Waikiwi, I've played against them once, the Kiki, and they don't mind it. I know a couple of the boys in the team now, and they still don't mind it. So, those were my two honourable mentions.
Speaking of Bluff, I think we're going to take this opportunity. We don't have any sponsors on this free-to-air show, but I'm going to plug the Bluff Ben Smith here. Get into first on Windsor for a nice flat white and some slice.
Yeah, we're not yet at the sponsorship stage, but definitely give the lovely Curtis and Jen and Sharia a call and get your pasta, your chicken pasta, and your flat white.
Yeah, it goes good actually.
Good option. I also think
the Bluff Ben Smith. Fucking
the Bluff Ben Smith.
He hates that, eh?
I wonder if he does the accounts for First and Windsor.
That happened at POB on one of those famous piss ups. I remember it, Eyes. We were outside. You were outside having a dart.
Yeah.
And some random guy was like, "Oh, Curtis, the Bluff Ben Smith."
I reckon the Bluff guys must have been playing that day there or something.
Maybe,
It's a Bluff Ben Smith, and Curtis is like, fuck's sake.
Loving it. I have also heard, just on a final note on that, haven't been there myself, but heard good things about the Pioneer Club. So heard that it's generally pretty packed. So would be good to get there at some stage.
That's the main thing though when you go into away, like to see a few people in there. Sort of, if there's a bit of atmos in there, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last thing I wanted to cover off was I have a feeling that we might all be unanimous on this, but not sure. Yeah, your most memorable club social we'll call it social gathering / There's been a heap of good ones, but is there anyone in particular that stands out?
I mean, when you sent through the agenda a couple of days ago, I started thinking about it, and I just assumed you fellas would go for the same one, right? So I went different, but
yes, I think I probably have as well, but it's there, I think.
Only because the Galbraith Shield Sundays, you can't talk about what happened on the internet.
No.
It's behind closed doors, and there's just some sick units operating, and it's probably we've got some younger listeners. We don't need to treat them to that. But the ones that I can talk about, I've gone for my first end of year bus trip with Kike up the road. So it was back in the more barbaric times where there was sort of the leadership hierarchy, kind of hazing ceremonies. Yeah. And when we sort of jumped on the bus at the club rooms, and all first years had to stick their hand in this bag and pick out an item, and I was already shitting myself doing it. And I pulled out a tambourine, and it was Griff. He was a hooker at the time. Was like, make sure you hold on to that. You'll need it at some point. If you lose it, you'll be in big trouble. So we headed up the road. Ended up. This is after probably 8 or 9 hours of just straight boozing. Ended up at Middlemarch Pisser, and it was a Super Rugby final. And he knew the barman there, and there's 5 or 6 rookies all pulled out these random items, and all of a sudden I just remember it going quiet, and he'd managed to get the bartender to turn off the Super Rugby final with 20 minutes to go. All the locals were there; they didn't know us, and he's just gone over the jukebox, put a song on. And it was like, I can't remember what it was. It was a white girl's bang. It was like Tina Turner, Simply the Best. And he's like, all you new boys, grab your items. It's an impromptu lip sync. So we had to stand there and like perform this song in front of this angry country pub while the footies paused, just getting fucking abused, man. It was not good.
Pitchforks galore.
Yeah, no, they were furious. It didn't go down well. It did not go down well. So
real wind up.
Yeah, I remember that was a good one. It was after that. It was just into the wool shed
Yeah.
behind closed doors again. But that was memorable for me for sure.
Good stuff. What about you, Oz?
Um,
You would have had
yeah,
your
wasn't really-
you would have had your fair share.
yeah, I've got a few. What I want to mention just before I get to mine is in 2005 the Lions played at Rugby Park.
Oh, were you
And
there?
so I would have been 16, just 16. Yeah. Anyway, so everyone went back to Marist and we were sneaking beers all night and we ended up fucking hammered. And I remember Kenzie and Jimmy Windle got up in the middle of the Marist club rooms and it was packed and just started chanting, "Fuck the Lions, fuck the Lion." And the whole of Marist was like, being caught, like, what the fuck you two idiots doing? And then that was fine. I remember going to school the next day with like a genuinely violent hangover, and that was, I guess, the beginning of the end. But the one I've got is, I think it was, was out at Woodlands a couple of years ago.
Is this the shearing?
The shearing.
This is the shearing one. That was was it their club day?
Yeah, it was. They
I
actually
think it was their club day.
Yeah,
they beat us.
Yeah.
And so there was a big sharing thing, and Marty and Phil were going, and that went on for till
And
like
Siaki,
just before.
and
Siaki, was it? Do we have two teams or just those two?
Just those.
Or just
two.
been just
Three.
those two, and so basically the gist of the story: the All Blacks are playing later on, and they finished the sharing, and then basically, I'd say maybe 80-90% of the Woodies guys went home. And there's probably about 15, I reckon a good 15 of us left in there. And we stayed there till after the footy and then carried on through until they basically kicked us out at about, I don't know, maybe 11:30. But it was just one of those things like, it wasn't so much like it wasn't a crook us up or anything like that. It was just that all the guys had stayed there for that long and just really got around. And I'm pretty sure like the only guys left for like the Woodlands Life members, and Cabbage was still there. I think Jeremy Fraser was still there, but it was just cool in that sense that everyone's getting around each other and
and the die-hard Woodies supporters were hard up. I
feel like. After they just towed us up, but but obviously when you talk,
unreal.
That was a good night.
Then they wake up the next morning and realise that they hate Marist again.
Yeah, but for that 4 hours they didn't mind us.
You I had obviously the Galbraith Shield ones were obviously top of the list, but there's one that stands out for me. I think from memory, I'm pretty sure you were both on this one. So 2015, we were playing the Barbars in Gore. And
I wasn't there.
I wasn't there.
Oh, you weren't there. So from memory, I'm pretty sure it was Fish, old Farm for Life, organised this.
Yeah.
I think.
That's another plug.
Yeah, Farm for Life. And so we played the Barbars in Gore, and the plan was to go to Queenstown after the game. Now Phil had arranged cousin. Can't remember his
That's
name,
right.
But
His
he
cousin,
had arranged his cousin to drive the bus all the way to Gore, play the game, Gore to Queenstown, and then Queenstown home. Now, pretty sure that's highly illegal, but anyway, the boys have played the game. From memory, I think we lost again. Jeez.
Sounds about right.
But I think we lost the game. But, man, we got on the bus. I'm guessing about a 2-hour trip to Queenstown. I think from memory, the boys just all cut loose in Queenstown. I remember a couple of our lads were walking towards, I think, Pig and Whistle or something like that. Boys got in a scrap.
That was me. I got a hiding.
Actually, yeah, boys. I mean Bryce. You got towed up.
And Fitzy. Fitzy started it.
Yeah, I heard Fitzy was involved.
The two biggest guys on the team. But from memory, Willie Pira come in and saved you. Is that right?
Yeah, the big Pero did come over the top and dealt a few telling blows.
Yeah,
got me out of trouble.
I was going to come and land a few myself, but thought better of it.
When I sort of come around to what was happening, Fitzy happened to be 300 metres down the road, not even anywhere near it.
Yeah.
Probably the two mouthiest guys going around though, especially on soup.
Oh yeah, there's a few in the belly.
Yeah,
We had to be at the bus at like 3:30 a.m. Be
Yeah,
there or miss the bus.
it was
Fuck,
something
it was
like
a big ask.
3:30. But I remember that from memory, we got on the bus and there was some boys that were not present from memory.
Yeah, we left a couple.
And there was a couple that either stranded or late to the piece. I'm pretty sure I dozed off and woke up to the smell of something that wasn't cigarettes. I think that a couple of the culprits down the back.
Yeah.
Better not name them, but yeah, hocking in while Filthy's cousin is driving home. So pretty sure we pulled up at Maris about 7 a.m.
Yeah, there was
boys got picked up off home. Hell of a weekend. I think that was
What did Phil's cousin do?
Not
Like
sure
when you guys were.
What's that?
No. What was he doing?
Sat with the bus.
Did he just park up in the bus, or did he come out
I
with you
think
boys?
so.
Pretty sure
No,
he
he didn't come out.
parked out by the Wakatipu Rugby Club and just let
Let the boys loose.
Let the boys loose. So yeah, that was one of the greats. Looking back on that, don't think that would happen these days.
No, not with the bus situations.
No.
Nah, shit, no.
Can't do the bus.
That's a bit of a shame.
Yeah. Hopefully we can get the party bus back online in 2020.
What are the chances, you reckon?
Oh, trip to the Gore Showgrounds. Hopefully could be a go. And the
Tough
Croydon.
ground, man. I hate that ground.
Oh, it's awful.
We talked about
We
that.
We need a chance to spray it.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Oh, it's just
Episode 3, mate.
tough track, man.
It's not even the deck; it's just the experience, really. Just, you're getting beaten up. Even if it was a
You're
fast deck, you're gonna get beaten up.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a good preview for episode 3, I think.
Yeah. That's a good segue, mate. You read my mind.
Yeah.
But what day you heading K-Fry eyes tomorrow, or you're holding off to the weekend?
Look, I'll probably, I've been trying to stay off the kernel for a while, but just feels like I need to have a crack. So I usually Friday night have happy hour with my mates on Zoom, and that usually goes till late doors. And then Saturday I've been playing a poker tournament so that usually goes real late. That was about 3 o'clock and the weekend just over Zoom. So it may be a Sunday job. I'm not sure. Are they doing deliveries?
Yeah, I don't know. They don't do deliveries, do they? I know McDonald's is.
No, I know Macca's does.
Yeah,
Jeez, they'll be flat stuck.
That'd be a nightmare. I know Koji were offering free deliveries. I've seen there's a few people running wild with that on the book.
That'd be a bit of you, won't it?
It could be on the cards. We'll have to see how we go.
I've just got a quick question. Just on the comp, like the Premier comp, how many teams do you see, or how long do you actually think it's going to go if it starts in July?
Unsure, to be fair. I know they were talking about 10 weeks, but I guess heard another inkling today that the Mitre 10 Cup, could potentially start end of September, start of October. So for the Prems comp, that could put that in a bit of jeopardy. If, say, you couldn't start till the end of July, you're definitely crossing paths. So unsure. I'm sure Bob Cullen will not be asleep at the wheel and will have a plan sorted. But yeah, hopefully 10 weeks. But if not, then it might have to be a shortened format. I think all the other comps could run like 10 weeks, 10, 12 weeks. Not a drama.
Yeah, it all depends when he gets kicked off, I suppose. But yeah,
start date. Nah, very good, fellas. Cheers for the chat. Anyway, we're on.
No worries, mate.
We're in the big time now. We're on Spotify and Apple, so hopefully we get one or two more.
Nice.
Give it a follow.
We've started grooming our sponsors. We'll be at the big time soon.
Good stuff, George. Cheers for having me.
Nah.
No worries, mate. Cheers for having me back,
guys.
Scoot.
No worries, mate. Right.
See you later.